Hello, and welcome to an exclusive interview with Michelle Noble, the First Lady of Mortgage Lending in South Texas. Michelle is the branch manager of Certainty Home Lending here in San Antonio. I'm your host, Joe Lilly, and I have the distinct pleasure of talking to a woman who truly understands mortgage lending, but more importantly, a woman who truly understands the power of having a personal, face-to-face interaction with borrowers. Because let's face it, mortgage lending today is increasingly dominated by online and technology-driven lending that, quite frankly, lacks that personal touch. So how does that play out in our current housing market? Well, I believe that many of you watching this video are aware that our current housing market is a far cry from what it was just 2 or 3 years ago. We're experiencing a whirlwind of changes and uncertainties in the housing market. When you consider fluctuating interest rates hovering near 7%, the impact of inflation, and the low inventory of homes for sale, many potential home buyers find themselves navigating a challenging landscape. So for anyone wanting to buy a home today, it's extremely important that you have someone like Michelle Noble with her wealth of in-depth experience and expertise to personally guide you through these uncertain times. Now, before diving into my conversation with Michelle, I want to give you a broad overview of her background and why she's regarded as one of the most highly trusted and reliable mortgage lenders in South Texas. First, she offers you more than 35 years of experience in real estate and mortgage lending. In fact, Michelle started selling real estate when she was only 19 and quickly became a top producer in San Antonio before transitioning to lending. Her journey in the mortgage industry began as a loan processor, which helped her learn the business from the ground up. This hands-on experience allowed her to develop a deep understanding of the intricacies of the lending process. Michelle's expertise and commitment to excellence for more than 3 decades have not gone unnoticed. She's been featured in several reputable magazines such as Texas Monthly, Fortune, Forbes, O Magazine, Entrepreneur, San Antonio Magazine, and Top Agent. Alongside some of the nation's best realtors, Michelle co-authored an Amazon best-selling book called The Ultimate Guide to Buying and Selling Homes. Her industry knowledge and dedication to customer service have earned her certifications as a military and veteran housing specialist. She also has been awarded the prestigious Mortgage Banker Lending Integrity Seal and the Expert Network Seal for mortgage professionals. It's no wonder then that Michelle has also been recognized as a 5-star professional for more than a decade and consistently receives 5-star ratings on Google and Zillow. Michelle's commitment to providing exceptional customer service sets her apart from many other lenders. She engages in face-to-face interaction, provides homeowners with personalized guidance, and offers a tailored lending approach that's designed to meet each home buyer's individual goals, concerns, and financial situation. So, without further ado, let's meet Michelle Noble. Michelle, thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to have you here with us today. You know, I know, Michelle, that you offer a personalized approach to the loan process. How does how does your personalized approach differ from companies that offer only a technology-driven approach? And how does your approach enhance the mortgage lending experience for borrowers?
Well, thank you for having me, Joe. And the easiest way for me to explain it is home buyers now are inundated with lots of information on the internet, and they'll call in and talk to the larger big banks, and they get tossed into an online application experience. And there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so much that an online application doesn't ask, where in a conversation with someone you get more of their story, and every individual out there has a story, and the more of it you get up front, the easier it is to to apply and get them the loan that they're ultimately supposed to have.
Could you provide us with an example or two of how your personalized approach has helped previous home buyers navigate the lending process more effectively and maybe even help them secure more favorable loan terms or interest rates compared to those who rely on online disclosures?
So I've had buyers pretty frequently that have been denied by big bank lenders. They've gone through the entire process with sometimes their own personal bank that they've done business with for 25 years, thinking that their bank would make it easier. And they got through the entire process and 2 days before closing were denied, or they're underqualified for the type of mortgage they're looking for. And it's because the call center rep that they're talking to at that bank is not normally a licensed loan officer, and they don't know how to follow up questions to get the entire picture to paint to give to the underwriter for that borrower. So many times we've gone back and gotten an approval after a denial, or gotten a borrower approved for more loan than they were looking at with their own bank.
What specific advantages do you see in understanding a home buyer's needs and goals up front through direct communication compared, again, to relying on applications online?
So when you talk to a borrower up front, when you sit down and meet them face to face, you get to know them, you get to know what their plans are for the future, their family's plans. Sometimes people are not planning on being in a house for very long, and that will have a huge impact on what type of loan you put them in and what type of neighborhood also that you would put them in. Or if they're buying their forever home, there are other circumstances that you can look at.
Can you share any instances where your face-to-face approach has allowed you to identify unique financing opportunities or solutions for home buyers that, again, may have been overlooked in an online process?
So there's just so much that the bank understands when you're filling out an online application. And there have been many instances where a borrower has given me tax returns, and after looking at them, I've determined that it's much better that they go with a bank statement loan program. And in the same instance, if they've been looking at bank statement loan programs with other banks, we've been able to look at it and tell that a traditional income documentation loan would have been better for them.
How do you handle complex financial situations or unique circumstances that, again, may not be addressed in an online process?
That goes back to that face-to-face meeting with the borrower. Every borrower that I talk to has a story. And once you know the entire story, it helps develop a map to use for that borrower's loan program, and an online application just doesn't have the ability to do that.
Right. And again, I guess when you sit one-on-one with home buyers, you can provide them with insights or guidance as far as any of their mortgage decisions about the neighborhood trends, property values, and that type of thing?
Absolutely. There's a really big trend going on right now with builders and new homes where they're offering huge incentives to borrowers and lower down payments to try and unload their inventory. And it may be a fantastic deal for a borrower to get into a new home if that's the plan for them to stay in for the next 5 to 10 years, where a borrower that may have to sell within the next 2 or 3 years, that may not be a good idea at all for them.
Right. How is your personal upfront guidance particularly beneficial to first-time home buyers that, again, might be lacking in an online process?
Oh my gosh, first-time home buyers are inundated, especially the younger generation, with all of the information on the internet, and a lot of it is misinformation, and they go down a rabbit hole just like I do with clothes shopping, and they get so tied up in what their questions are that they don't know which way to turn, so they end up not acting at all. Where I think with a personal one-on-one approach, that kind of helps ease their mind.
Right. Now, anyone who has followed the housing market for the past year or so, they've seen skyrocketing mortgages that in many cases are driving home buyers away from the market. And I know that, for example, annual interest payments for median-priced mortgages, they rose dramatically over the past couple of years. I heard a figure from They were around $8,500 a few years ago, and now they're around over $24,000 for an annual interest payment. Now that's a pretty hefty jump. Now for millennials who are now hitting their peak child rearing years, the American dream of home may seem like a mirage. Considering today's worrisome market conditions, what can be done for those home seekers who have little cash on hand and who must secure financing, and how might you advise these mortgage-dependent buyers in this current environment?
There are a lot of programs available for first-time home buyers, buyers that don't have the money saved up. One of the biggest myths that we have to fight in the mortgage business is that you have to have 20% down, and that hasn't been true in decades. We have some fantastic down payment assistance programs for those buyers. We have first-time home buyer programs that help them. There are interest rate programs such as 2-1 buy downs that will help ease them into that higher payment and give them time for job promotions or graduations from school that will help their income increase as their mortgage payment increases.
Now, I understand that you offer a variety of loan products. Now, aside from the most popular ones, conventional, FHA, and VA loans, what other types of loans do you offer potential buyers?
We have some of the best home program loans available out there, and probably more than any other lender out there. We have I-10 loans for citizens, people that are not U.S. citizens. We have bank statement loan programs for people that are not wanting to document their income traditionally. We have what they call DSCR loans, which are for people that are looking for buying investment properties where we don't consider their income, we consider the rent on the home as repayment terms for that loan. So there's just a wealth of programs available out there.
Well, Michelle, as you're well aware, San Antonio is home to a large military and veteran population. And according to one estimate, the city has roughly 250,000 veterans and 80,000 active duty personnel. And those figures increase substantially if you also include Bexar County. So let's talk about how you're able to serve our local veterans and active duty members seeking a VA loan. Now, in my introduction, I mentioned that you are a certified military and veteran housing specialist. What did you have to do to earn this certification, and what kind of specialized service can you provide a veteran or an active duty member versus a lender who doesn't have that kind of experience?
So we had to go through some pretty specific training, and we had to pass a test for that certification that talks about specific issues that are specific to veterans and military households. You know, they're not the typical borrower. If they're active duty, they're PCSing in from another place. They don't have a lot of time to make decisions. They need to have everything taken care of right away. And they have unique situations that you have to deal with. And so we learn all about those things. We also have, you know, my husband and I both come from military backgrounds, so he and I have some pretty hefty military experience. My veterans are the favorite borrowers that I do. I believe that the very least I can do to pay back their services to try and help them get into a home that they're going to be comfortable in.
Could you tell us about some of the unique features and benefits of a VA loan and how they differ from conventional loans or other types of loans?
So VA loans are spectacular. In fact, the 30 years I've been in the business, I don't know, I can count on one hand the number of times that I've talked to a veteran or a military borrower where a different loan program would have been better for them. And VA has for a long time had gotten a bad rep with sellers. That's all being worked out and overcome now. And VA loans really are the best loan for military and veteran borrowers. There's no down payment. They don't have a monthly MI feature like FHA and conventional loans do. And it really is just a great program.
Right. For someone seeking a VA home loan, could you briefly outline some of the I guess, the major steps that you would walk them through in order to have them become eligible?
So it's very easy to get them eligible. They don't need to have a copy of their certificate of eligibility anymore. We order those online and can get them online all the time. They don't even need to really have a copy of their DD-214 when they apply for a loan. So the easiest thing for them to do is call in and let's just talk it over. I run into a lot of veterans, especially older veterans, that don't believe that they even qualify for a VA loan because they didn't retire. So there's a lot of miscommunication out there with veteran borrowers. So I say if they've served in the military at all, to just call and see, because that's a benefit that they earned that we're more than happy to give them.
In light of some of these misconceptions or misunderstandings that you encounter, how would you clarify them?
It's just experience. We sit down with the veteran and talk to them, find out how long they served, especially in the Guard or in the Reserve units. We help them get their point values established and get their certificate of eligibility in. I deal with a lot of spouses of deceased veterans that don't know that they qualify for that same service. So in sitting down and talking to them, we've been able to put several of those women in homes that didn't think they could get them.
Right. I think you may have mentioned or given me an answer to my next question in some of your previous responses, but just for clarification, in light of today's worrisome market conditions, are there specific advantages or benefits for veterans or active duty personnel for taking out a VA loan versus some of the other types of loans?
I will tell you, especially in this market, one of the biggest advantages that VA loans offer is for the veteran to do an interest rate reduction loan after closing. So if a veteran gets into a property and rates start to drop, every 6 months they can turn around and apply for an interest rate reduction loan to keep moving their rate down. They're not stuck at that same rate, and they don't have to income qualify for this loan, and there are very little closing costs involved in it. So as rates move down, they can move the payment down with them. That's one of the only loans out there that has that feature.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, of course, two of the most popular financing options are available to home buyers are the conventional and the FHA loans. So I'd like to talk about some of those right now. Can you describe some of the primary features and benefits of conventional loans compared to other types of mortgages?
Mm-hmm. So conventional loans traditionally are for people that have a little higher credit score and a little higher down payment. They'll also go, the loan amounts on those loans are much higher than FHA will allow. For example, FHA, the maximum loan right now in Bexar County, I believe, is $498. The maximum conventional loan in the county right now is a little over $766,000. So you can buy more house with a conventional loan. You can also buy second homes and investment properties with conventional that you can't do with FHA. But conventional loans have a little bit stricter guidelines.
Okay. Can you explain the typical down payment requirements and credit score expectations for conventional loans?
So conventional loans normally have a little higher credit score requirement than FHA loans do. Typically, they're going to start at about 620, but they do have down payment options as low as 3%.
Oh, okay. And now when someone comes to you seeking a conventional home loan, what are some of the things that you can offer them that set you apart from other mortgage lenders and especially online lenders?
We've got a great program available right now for our conventional loans. It's a grant that the borrower gets from Fannie Mae for $5,000. It's kind of a down payment assistance program. And we match that grant with 1% of the loan amount up to $3,000. So we were actually looking at a loan for a borrower this weekend on a $300,000 house in Kerrville, where they were only going to have to come out of pocket with a little over $1,000. So that's one of the programs that we offer as a conventional that not many lenders at all are offering.
Let's now look at the FHA loans. Can you describe some of the primary features and benefits of an FHA loan?
I sure can. So FHA loans are our biggest first-time home buyer loan program. They are, other than VA, probably one of the most forgiving loans that we do. They will go down, technically FHA will go down to as low as a 500 credit score. There are some big setbacks to that, and only a few investors allow it. But FHA also will allow much higher back debt ratios than other loans will. They're more forgiving on recent credit issues than conventional loans are. And they'll allow for a lot less time on work and things like that. So they really are a fantastic first-time homebuyer program.
Mm-hmm. What special programs can you offer first-time homebuyers with an FHA loan? Do you have any special programs or strategies?
We have. You can team FHA loans with first-time homebuyer down payment assistance programs. So we can team it with the program that I told you about on the conventional with the grants. We can also team it with the Texas state bond programs, TSHAC and TDHCA, so the buyers are coming in with as little out of pocket as possible.
Great. Now, for the home buyer who wants to buy, say, a mansion with a pool or perhaps a luxury penthouse downtown, you're going to need a supersized mortgage designed for those hefty home purchases. Now, I understand that's where a jumbo loan comes into play. Michelle, what can you tell us about jumbo loans and how do they differ from conventional or FHA loans?
So jumbo loans are anything over the conforming loan limit, which is right around $766,000. And people get very nervous for some reason when they're talking about jumbo loans. You start putting that many zeros after a number and it just automatically makes buyers nervous. And they think that they are much harder to get qualified for than a standard conventional loan. And they are a little stricter on some things, but we've done loans on jumbo properties with as little as 5% down. We've got some great jumbo products out there for very large acreage properties, which we've never had available in the past. So one of the big trends right now in Bexar County and the surrounding areas are compounds with large acreage and homes on them, and we've done several of those in the last year.
So what are the usual requirements for borrowers seeking jumbo loans in terms of credit score, down payment, and debt-to-income ratio?
We can do the same types of loan programs. For example, we've just finished one where we had a borrower that was borrowing up to $1.5 million, and they had very similar interest rates to what the conventional loans were offering. 5% down. Most of the time they can do them with no MI, or mortgage insurance. Sorry, I don't mean to use technical terms. So mortgage insurance is something you pay on anything when you don't have 20% down. But a lot of the jumbo programs will allow you to use the 5% down with no MI. And they can also do the bank statement and the DSCR loans, which makes them very attractive.
Are there any misconceptions about jumbo loans that borrowers need to be aware of?
Just that they're so much harder to get and that you have to have so much money down. I think that's the biggest misconception on them.
Okay. Now, first-time home buyers, they often face many challenges, which I think you alluded to earlier, when trying to buy their first home. From navigating the complexities of the real estate market to understanding some of their mortgage options and scraping down a down payment together, and all of this can be rather daunting. And when you add in factors like rising home prices, competition from buyers, and fluctuating interest rates, it's clear that first-time home buyers have their work cut out for them. Michelle, what sort of advice or guidance do you typically offer first-time home buyers navigating the mortgage process? So
my first two biggest pieces of advice for first-time home buyers is do not believe everything you see on the internet. There's, like I said, so much misinformation out there. And the very first step that they need to take when they're looking for a home, before they go look at houses, before they talk to realtors, before they do anything, is to find a good lender and sit down with them and get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. The difference being a pre-qualification is something that a bank loan rep can shoot out to you in 3 minutes over the phone. A pre-approval is a loan that has actually, your information has gone through with an underwriter, and the underwriter has reviewed and approved everything. So we do pre-approvals on all of our buyers, so that by the time they go out under contract, they know that they've gotten the biggest step out of the way.
Right. Are there any specific loan programs or initiatives tailored to assist first-time home buyers in achieving home ownership, and what can you tell us about those?
Most of our programs for first-time home buyers lean very heavily on down payment assistance and on some interest rate buy downs that we can offer.
Okay. What are some of the common challenges or mistakes that first-time home buyers face when applying for a mortgage?
First-time home buyers have a very hard time with how underwriters calculate income most of the time. A good example of that is a borrower that will tell you that, you know, they've been on the job for 2 years and they make $20 an hour and they work 40 hours a week. So that's how they calculate their income. That's also how the bank teller is going to calculate their income. But maybe what they didn't tell you is that during the first year they only worked 30 to 35 hours, and then this year sometimes they work 40, but sometimes they drop down to 20. Well, when they get 25 days into that loan application, the underwriter at the bank is going to pick up that loan and go, oh, you have variable income, and now we're going to average it, and you no longer qualify for the loan. So they really don't have a good grasp on how we calculate income versus how everyone else does.
Right. Now, you mentioned down payment assistance programs, or I guess grants too. How do they help first-time home buyers?
They help first-time home buyers, number one, because it eliminates the need for them to have a large investment up front so that they can move into a home quicker and get into something when prices and interest rates right now are going through the roof. So rather than wait to save up the money to buy down, if you use one of the down payment assistance programs, you can get in earlier and then start building equity earlier.
Okay. For first-time home buyers whose credit scores are relatively low, what do you recommend to them that they will be able to raise their scores?
So first of all, I don't necessarily believe in credit repair. The biggest advice I can give first-time home buyers is 35% of what makes up their credit score is how much revolving debt they have available versus how much they're using. So technically, somebody with a $500 Target credit card, if they owe $400 on it, it's really affecting their credit score. It's really dropping it down. Whereas if they take that balance on that one credit card to where it's down to less than 150, that can sometimes boost their scores 50 points. Wow. So make sure all your credit cards and payments are set up on auto pay so you don't accidentally miss anything, and try and keep your credit card balances low.
Good advice. What homeowner education seminars or first-time homebuyer workshops, or perhaps even credit counseling services, do you recommend to help first-time homebuyers financially prepare for buying a home?
You know, I'm not a big fan of home buying seminars simply because there's normally 100 people in the room and there's one person talking, and it's really hard to do Q&A or one-on-one with home buyers like that. I would rather, and my loan officers that work with me would rather sit down one-on-one, and there's no fee, there's no upfront charge to talk to a loan officer, to just sit down and get information. So that's probably the best thing that I would recommend.
Okay. What state or federal first-time homebuyer programs are currently available to first-time homebuyers?
There are so many that they're really hard to list, but the two biggest that we use in Texas are TDHCA and TSHAC, that are both administered through the state of Texas housing programs. And then we also have the SPCB program that I told you about that we use with Certainty.
Right. Now you also help homeowners who may consider refinancing their home for several reasons, whether it's to take advantage of a lower interest rate or or maybe, reduce their monthly mortgage payments and so forth. What creative financing programs, strategies, or adjustments to loan amounts would you suggest to someone wanting to refinance their home that could still offer them decent rate savings versus what they're currently paying?
So that refinances are not something that we're all talking about right now because rates were so low just a few years ago, but it is going to come into play soon. And the biggest piece of advice I can give people is mortgage companies make the bulk of their money on refinances. So they are forever trying to come up with ways to get you to refinance, whether it may be a good thing for you or not. So I would, anytime you're thinking about refinancing, sit down again and talk to your loan officer and find out if it's a good idea or not. There is no cost refinance, regardless of what people are told. So you have to be sure that refinancing the house is something that you're going to realize the benefit from.
Yeah. Looking into your crystal ball, are interest rates going to go up or down within the next year or two?
Oh, my crystal ball has been kind of cloudy the past year, but all the word from the people that are supposed to know, that are the experts, is that we expect rates to maybe drop between now and the end of the year. We were much more confident of that prior to last week when the inflation numbers came out, and we're still stronger. But we think as inflation gets under control, that we'll see mortgage rates drop probably through the end of the year.
Now, what if a homeowner chooses to refinance to access their home's equity through a cash-out refinance? What are the pros and cons of doing that?
So that kind of depends on whether they have an existing mortgage or not. You can access cash out in the state of Texas. You can borrow up to 80% of your home's value. And if you want to do repairs, if you want to pay off other bills and you have the equity in your home available to do that, that can be an option for you. You just have to look at the difference in your current rate versus what you're going to be able to get on the new rate.
Under what circumstances or market conditions would you recommend a homeowner not refinance his home?
I would not refinance a home if I were sitting on top of a 3.5% rate and I didn't have to refinance to pay bills, do whatever it is that they're going to do, make renovations. If you're going to increase that 3.5% rate to maybe a 7.5. So it depends a lot on what you need the money for, how urgent is the need, and what your interest rate is going to change to.
Right. Michelle, I know we've covered a lot of ground in this interview, but I know there's a lot more information that you can provide our viewers about each of these types of loan programs or packages that we've discussed. And that's, I guess, where a personal one-on-one meeting can benefit any potential home buyer or borrower. How can they reach you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
So the best way for anybody to get a hold of me is you can have my cell phone number. It's been the same cell phone number for 25 years. It's 210-216-1745, or they can call my office, 210-446-1361, and set up an appointment and come in and just sit down and talk to me. Like I said, there's never a fee for that, so that's the best way to find out more information.
Okay, great. Michelle, I want to thank you for your time and for providing our viewers with such useful and valuable information. And after hearing your remarks today and how you displayed your vast expertise and experience, I can now truly understand why they call you the First Lady of Mortgage Lending in South Texas. And for all of our viewers, thank you for joining us. Have a good day.